Just insane. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds for the data center.
I wanted to come out here and show you guys firsthand what is happening in Coweta County, Georgia. Here in Coweta County, Georgia, Georgia Power is forcibly taking people's homes, okay? They have no choice in this matter. As you can see behind me, these are the power lines, and this is my childhood home. My childhood home is being taken by Georgia Power. They are going to bulldoze this entire property to the ground. We don't have a choice in this. They are going to be expanding these power lines. Why? For the data centers. All of this is for the data centers. And you may think this might not affect you personally, but what happens when they come?
This is coming. This is what I've been talking about for the last 6 months. And I've been trying to make everybody aware that the infrastructure build out, the data centers, the power, the copper, the fiber optic lines, the utility lines, the easements, all of this is going to affect everybody, whether they're watching you, storing your data, meshing your data, or now taking your home because they just want to extend the power lines. 4-laning roads, redoing roads, infrastructure build out, all for these AI data centers. We got to talk about this when we get to the bottom of it. I'll give you my opinion again on why we need to pay attention to this, and these politicians are coming for your stuff. Let's go.
Hey you guys, it's Ansley from Coweta County, Georgia, fighting for my mom's house that's being taken by eminent domain. Today I'm here with Senator Greg Dolezal, showing him my mom's property that they're trying to take from us. As you see behind me, these are the power lines that neighbor my mom's property. They already have 400 feet of property here. They have plenty of room to work with, but they want more. How much more? They want 200 feet more in this direction. If you want to come this way, Mom, you can kind of see. My mom's house is just through those woods right there. As you can see, it's wrong. It's not right. They have plenty of room to work with here. They don't have to take these homes, but they're doing it anyways. What do you think about this?
This is crazy. I had no clue that there was this much space, and frankly, Ansley, when I pulled up, I kind of figured that maybe they're going to come into the first row of trees. I did not realize it was going to be all the way over there. Y'all, public policy decisions and votes have downstream implications that affect real families and real people. And the fact that we have this crazy tax credit here in Georgia that is giving away billions of dollars for data centers that come set up shop here in Georgia is why so many of them are coming.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. And you know, we've been fighting this fight as to whether or not the data centers should have to pay their pro rata share of this capacity expansion. That's been a big fight at the Capitol. But this data center tax credit thing is the reason why families like yours are having to deal with this. And I'm just so sorry for what y'all are going through.
I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everybody's support who has shared my videos.
I want you to realize when they double the size of those power lines and that voltage doubles and the power generation that is created to do that kind of stuff, don't think that cancer is not going to go up. A lot of environmental problems. You're going to have runoff of all kinds of chemicals. The tree line is going to get cut down. And people's houses are going to disappear. And do these politicians really care? Absolutely not. He didn't care before these videos were made. He got his 5 minutes of fame. He's going to go back and people are going to push more money to his campaign for him just to be quiet. Or they'll vote him out. When I saw the look on those county commissioners' faces pushing this stuff through, I knew this was going to be huge. And we're talking $500 billion huge. You'll see here later.
To better put into perspective how big this data center that was secretly approved in Utah is, well, it is 41,000 acres in size, right? Or about 62 square miles, which means this is going to be bigger than Salt Lake City, bigger than the city of San Francisco, much bigger than the city of Boston, 3 times bigger than the island of Manhattan. Okay, so if the data center was put above this entire region, it would cover this entire region. This right here is the existing NSA data center that's already in Utah. It is the NSA's largest data center in the world, right? It would be 200 times the size of this existing data center. And I just want to reiterate, right? Like this data center, the size of this data was approved in a backdoor dealing, okay? County commissioners and county board members just approved it without a public vote and without public opinion. And when protesters showed up to protest this, Rightfully so. Look how large it is and how much resources it's going to suck. The county board members demeaned them, okay? Called them fake for their outrage. I think it's fair.
And they went into another room and did the vote away from the crowd because they were so worried. They did it through video. And then they told everybody else to shut up or they would arrest them. I showed that on one of my videos. We're seeing this in Utah. You're going to see it in Georgia. You're going to see it in Florida. You're going to see it. You already see it in Texas. You already see it in Amarillo. And what do you think they're going to do with all this stuff? You know? I mean, I'll show you what they're going to do with it. They're going to do things like this.
On my lap, just got a $1,250 ticket in the mail for having my phone on my lap, face down, and both hands on the steering wheel.
You're going to be seeing people getting tickets left and right. You're going to see people jaywalking, getting tickets. You're going to see people getting their jobs lost, like this right here, where this guy never has to sleep. And he can look at all those packages while the other guy has to go to the restroom. And yeah, they might on par go the same speed. But this guy, this robot, doesn't need lights. It doesn't need a lit warehouse. It doesn't have to worry about seeing in the dark. It's not going to break down. It's going to run 24/7. It's going to be taking so many jobs. And like this one right here, just sorting is going to be one thing. Imagine when it's a forklift. Imagine when it's an 18-wheeler. I saw that like 3/4 of the jobs in America, especially people with a high school education, is truckers. And they are aiming at the trucking industry square between the crosshairs. Listen to this guy. Imagine being in that room. I mean, we're talking war spend here. We're talking about the same level as like the Iran war, the Afghan war. And I semi-believe that it's to keep the economy, GDP going. That's why we also have these wars, the Ukraine war, the Iran war, the Israeli war, Niger, Sudan, all these countries over there in war. That's what's given us these GDP points. Or, I mean, job growth would be zero. It was zero. Now let's listen to this next guy. And he's like, it's going to change the world. I mean, I listened to Elon Musk this morning and talk about white-collar jobs, legal research and writing, lawyers, CPAs, anything to do with data, writing, you know, things that don't have to move something from point A to point B. But that robot is coming. Give it 5 or 10 years. It's coming. Truckers, it's coming. Fuelers, it's coming. Like anything that is moving things from point A to point B, I mean, they can make it as strong as they want. And they don't have to worry about HR. They don't have to worry about days off. They don't have to worry about all these things that politicians are spending their time on to litigate. They'll just cut it out of the ether and say, you know what, we're just not going to debate with you. You're gone. Look what Meta just did. They cut half their force, and they're gonna cut more. All the tech companies.
You're not. How much money does the AI community need to raise over the next 5 years?
A lot.
Right. Data center spend in the United States this year over $500 billion, like over $500 billion. Okay. You're not going to generate this kind of spend unless you're going to make a promise you're going to profoundly change the world.
So is it hype?
Of course.
So AI will not profoundly
like,
change
like
the world.
how else are you going to get people to write $500 billion of checks?
I'm going to give you guys the cold hard truth about the data centers, and there's all this speculation and theories, and it's actually really simple. The truth is, last year, a technology rolled out called Agentic AI. I use it. It's incredible. It's powerful. You can get a lot done that you couldn't get done alone. And basically you can have all these agents that are running all this work, and it allows one person to do the job of like 50 people, 100 people, hundreds of people. It just compresses everything, right? So that's what's going to happen. The cat's out of the bag. Agentic AI is here. It's powerful. It will take your job. And it's going to hurt a lot of people who study really hard and has a ton of student debt and have, solid educations and dreams and 401ks and investments. And it's going to take their income. And they know this. And the reason they want to get the data centers up so fast is so they get them up before the political firestorm that's going to happen whenever everybody starts losing their jobs to the agents.
This is big. And I was wondering why they were doing it so fast. And we didn't even hear about it until it was like, boom, 40,000 acres to this. Boom, 20,000 acres to that. And I'm like, oh, it's midterms. It's going to happen right after midterms before it really catches steam. And then we'll be going to the presidential election where people will just overlook it, create a few wars, throw a couple CIA documents on, like UFOs out there, and we all forget about it. Meanwhile, this is what's going on in the middle of nowhere somewhere.
This isn't a theory. I mean, anybody who's worked with the technology, you go through a realization like, oh my God, this is going to change the world. The problem is no one has an answer for what we're going to do whenever everybody loses their job. And people say, well, I'm a welder, I'm a construction worker, AI can't take my job. Not yet, no, but it doesn't even matter because you're still trying to operate in a society that is about to get devastated by, basically they've replaced cognition with a tool. So they don't need your brain anymore, right?
Yep, and they can get rid of 30 or 40% of their balance sheet from paying employees, health benefits, job creation, turnover, lawsuits from employment law. This is it.
Right? Because the agents can think. And when I say think, I mean, they can perform tasks, computation tasks, and they're faster than us. They don't sleep. They don't have feelings. They don't have race and ethnicity and care about adversity. And they don't argue. And they don't need breaks. They don't need to go home at night. They can run 24/7. And they have access to everything, right? They can scour it's just incredible. And scary at the same time. And that's it. So they're just trying to race the clock, before the disruption occurs. Because by that time, everybody's already going to know what's happening. And they're not going to be able to push all this, push the data centers through, get the legislation and the permits and that's it, And
that's it. All she wrote. We're going to wake up one day. Everybody's going to be replaced. You'll see factory workers saying, hey, I've worked on this floor for 30 years and I just got replaced by a robot, a welding machine, a CAD system that can think and put it together, that can manage a shop. And they don't have to light the shop. They don't have to heat and air condition the shop. It's just going to be a shop that runs 24/7, 7 days a week. And I think we'll see the S&P keep going up. I do. Because they'll say, well, we just cut 30% of our workforce, so our stock price has to go up.
The Texas cotton farmer here on TikTok did a video that kind of went viral where he talked about the Matador project and the water usage it was going to have on Amarillo, Texas. Now, I drive back and forth to Amarillo pretty often, and for a good while, I seen a water well company out where they're going to build the plant. I thought it was a test rig because they were drilling a lot of holes. But to my surprise, I stopped here on the highway, and I can tell you, they weren't drilling test holes. Instead, they drilled a huge amount of water wells for this particular area. So no matter what the data company is selling you whenever they're going to build one of these projects, the cotton farmer was right. We are going to feel it in our water supply.
I mean, it's just going to come out of the water table. I mean, it's math. It's just basic math. You're taking water out of the water table. There's going to be less water everywhere. It's coming. I just wonder, why aren't they putting them in like a cooler place where you can do a cooling system, or a place with a lot of water? Why the desert? I get land's cheap, but it's got to be taxes and politics.
Got over 50,000 of y'all on this platform. I'm desperately calling upon each and every one of you to share this video so that we can please raise awareness about this critical issue. I live in Coweta County, Georgia, and our county commissioners recently approved Project Sale. Over 800 acres of forest land that was originally zoned out for rural conservation has now been approved for a 600 megawatt AI data center. Despite countless petitions being sent to our county commissioners by their constituents, this data center was approved in a 3-2 vote. Jeff Fisher, Al Smith, and John Reidelbeck. Those are the 3 commissioners who voted this in. They are all 3 old men who will not live long enough to have to deal with the consequences of this. This is going to result in irreparable damages on our natural resources here in the county. This is about to be one of the biggest AI data centers in the country. And y'all really want to sit here and try to gaslight us into thinking that it's not going to affect our water. And we have seen how it has affected cities who have approved this shit. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know that me posting this video really even realistically does any good at this point. I'm just fucking pissed. I haven't really seen any national headlines talking about this. So y'all, please share this. So at the...
You know, they will gaslight us over straws, you know, floating in the water. They will gaslight us on whether a old oak tree can get cut down so somebody can work on their house. But instead, they'll go out and cut 40,000 acres of timber for a data farm. They will go out and disrupt an entire desert of all the little endangered creatures that they've lectured us on for a data center. They will go out there and take all the water out of a creek bed, get rid of all the fish, pump it full of forever chemicals, and then lecture us about a ½ inch on a redfish. You can't make this stuff up. I was talking this morning about, you know, some of these rules and how the hypocrisy of it with congressmen, wildlife commissions. They'll talk to us about the endangered deer out there somewhere. Meanwhile, there is a corporate entity out there about ready to take down 50,000 square acres and destroy, move creek beds, move creeks, pump in clay, take soil from one side of the United States and throw it in the other, gravel it all, put in some giant generators that'll run 24/7 off diesel fuel that'll make the sound so loud that no bird will want to live there. You know, it's like when they built the 3 Mile Bridge here and they were like, well, what's it going to do to the fishery? I'm like, you're going to take a hammer and drive pilings for 8 months. And that water is going to be so loud that the sturgeon are not going to want to come anywhere near any part of the bridge that's naturally on their migration route to the Gulf. Do you think they're going to want to go through there? Do you think all the redfish are going to live on that bridge when you're hammering a piling 24/7? Now put that in the woods, like in the desert. You put it in some of these like places where the animals, like there's nowhere else for them to live. And we're just going to destroy it with a data farm. Wait until there's a giant hydraulic spill from those big machines in the creek bed or a river or somewhere out there, and they're just going to look the other way. Meanwhile, all those chemicals going into the water. So don't talk to me about the ecosystem when you got this hypocrisy.
Is an indication that we are past pretending that we live in a democracy. We are fully in a plutocracy. I've been following really closely what's happening in Box Elder County, Utah, where Canadian billionaire Kevin O'Leary is trying to build the world's largest data center, a $100 billion project, okay? This would be the largest data center in the world at over 40,000 acres, and at full capacity, the data center, which is called the Stratos project, is set to use 9 gigawatts of electricity. More than double the entire amount of electricity used by Utah as a whole. Robert Davies, a physics professor from Utah State University, says that he actually thinks the project will require an additional 7 to 8 gigawatts of waste heat energy, meaning that the project in total will be 23 gigawatts of total thermal load energy, which is the equivalent of dropping 23 atom bombs in Utah every single day. Also, let's do a little climate change perspective. Since the turn of the 20th century, it is estimated that Utah's overall temperature has increased by 2.5 degrees Fahrenheit, okay? Now, Davies estimates that this project would increase Utah's daily temperature by 5 degrees and Utah's night temperature by 28 degrees. 8 degrees.
Come on. And then they're wanting to target me for a carbon tax to drive my truck to the corner store and back. They want to talk about my air conditioning unit at my house to keep my family cool. Meanwhile, they're going to do this. Like, I don't want to hear it, politicians. I want to know your thoughts. Comments down below.
Right now, 90% of Utah is in a drought. Do you know what happens when you take one of the driest states in the nation that is already having 53% of the lake bed of Salt Lake exposed, and you crank up the temperature even more? I feel like you can probably assume what happens.
Right.
Now here's the decline of democracy part. Last week, Box Elder County officials held a meeting where they were going to vote on whether or not to approve this project, and hundreds of residents came to protest and to express their outrage. The commissioners did not allow public comment.
Only to be told commissioners weren't taking comments.
Why won't they let people talk? Why won't they let us ask questions?
They did not allow public comment from something that is set to completely destroy the environment in which these people live and pay their taxes.
And I saw them arresting people for filming it. Like, there was guys that were trying to film behind the scenes, and they were like being stared at by the police officers and getting thrown out of the building for filming, and some of them were getting threatened with arrest just to film a public official. This is why the First Amendment is so important. And when everybody's like mad at these First Amendment auditors for like pointing cameras at stuff, this is why they do it. For us to have the ability to put cameras and hold people accountable in power that are doing these type of things. This type of stuff.
And then the county commissioners threatened to call the cops on these people.
I have law enforcement here who will remove you from the meeting.
And then they moved it to a virtual meeting so that there couldn't even be any public participation, where they unanimously approved the project.
Fed up with the resident uprising, the commissioners left the room to conduct the meeting virtually and promptly approved the project.
And here's something that I don't see people talking about, is that in 2025, Utah passed a data center tax incentive. So all of the machinery used to create a data center will not be taxed. So Kevin O'Leary is getting a tax break to build his $100 billion data center using publicly available resources, using these citizens' water. And then, in response to all this protest from the residents that live in Box Elder County, Kevin O'Leary had the audacity to say that those were paid protesters from out of state, which there is zero proof of.
And you know, I thought about this the other day. I was looking at Kevin O'Leary, and I'm like, he's in a $5,000 suit in a mansion with his pink flip-flops on, overlooking the water in Miami, and he's lecturing us about our ecosystem. You know, it's like the hypocrisy of this. It's like, you're gaslighting me. You're the one doing this. You're the face. You're the one trying to tell me about environmental science because he's got a BA in environmental science. And I'm like, dude, you're wearing a $5,000 suit. You're in a $1 million mansion. You're wearing pink flip-flops to rub it in that you don't even have to wear shoes because you're that rich. Fancy shoes with your suit. And you're looking at me and saying, I'm going to go ruin Utah. Like, what? And then you're going to do it in Florida, in Texas, in New York, in California. And as fancy as California is with their environmental law, until one of these data centers come, then they'll just wave the laws away. I mean, look what happened to the Palisades. They still hadn't fixed that. But if they wanted to build a data center, it'd happen tomorrow. I mean, right here, all these people are asking questions. Once the job, when no one has a job, will there be billionaires get money to make? Hey, no, I think they're going to do some type of universal basic income, and they'll just try to pacify people. No one will have money to buy anything. What's the point? I think there's something sketchy going on, and I can't put my finger on it, but I think they're just going to send people checks, and they're going to have computers build everything, and then they're just going to be like, oh, well. This is the future. They're not thinking about me and you. They're thinking about how can we make more money. Meanwhile, we're going to be out of a job.
I found out why the AI bubble might burst, y'all. So apparently the AI financial structure is all circular. You know, like really, truly a bubble. And let me explain what I mean. So NVIDIA has invested $30 billion into OpenAI. OpenAI then took that same money they got from NVIDIA and went and bought NVIDIA chips with it.
Yes. And also 7 of the top performing stocks in the S&P 500 are all the same company. Like, they're all these tech companies. Swapping AI, chips, NVIDIA, swapping it around. That's why everybody's so scared right now about these high valuations. But it's also driving the growth of the United States, theoretically. And I want to know what you think. Comment down below. Where do you think this is going?
So that money is just spinning in a circle between NVIDIA and OpenAI. The same thing happened with Microsoft. Microsoft gave billions of dollars to OpenAI, but it's in monopoly money. And I'm not joking. They're literally just giving them a gift card because the money Microsoft gave them can only be spent back at Microsoft. Now, why did NVIDIA and Microsoft do this? It makes their revenue look good because they're moving product, because OpenAI is putting that money right back into their company.
And most of the chip manufacturing or the chips to be supplied to these companies are 5 years out. That's why Taiwan is such a big problem here. Like, Taiwan is everything.
And why does that make OpenAI look good? It makes them look good because they're getting $1 billion of investment, so people keep investing. The problem is 95% of business owners have come out and said, AI is not helping me, right? And a bunch of the investors are starting to say, hey, is AI turning a profit yet? And the answer is no. AI is extremely expensive to run. Any money the AI companies have made, they've already spent simply in running the thing, simply in costs.
This kind of reminds me of the space race, where they just threw a bunch of money at going to the moon, and they're like, win, lose, or draw, this is what we're doing. This is what they're doing. Either they're going to make it work, or they're gonna, call it a day. They're gonna make it work, or they're gonna tell us they made it work, just like when they did all that stuff during the Cold War that nobody ever used. Just all those missile silos and all that equipment that nobody ever used.
They're all predicting they won't make money until 2028. And that's if they even start making money. They have projected that at least until 2028, they will be running in the red. They won't have made money. And the problem with this whole conversation, it being a circular bubble that's not making money, and the money just keeps going back and forth between the companies investing and spending, it just keeps going in a circle. Almost all of the US GDP growth is because of AI. That fake bubble, that money going to the AI company and then back to the company that gave them the money, it's all circular. So all of our growth is based off of that, which isn't real growth, which means that if the AI bubble bursts, the United States has virtually no growth.
I think they will keep pumping money into it. They will plug the holes by inflation, printing money, driving interest rates low, and then just giving tons of tax credits to these companies to keep them going. That's what's going to happen. And they're going to say China, 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 Russia, 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 and we're just going to take it on the chin, and they're going to keep pounding the money into that ecosystem, and the stock market will keep going up. They keep getting elected, and nothing ever changes. Just saying.
Hey, we want to open a library with a big vegetable garden on the outside. That'll take about 2.5 to 4 decades. For approval? No, to review. Hey, we want to chop down the city's last remaining forest and put up 50,000 acres worth of data centers that will use more than twice the energy of the entire state while selling its citizens information to people who view you and me as nothing more than useful cattle. How does tomorrow sound?
Pretty much, that's a summation of this entire movie, okay, of this entire video. They won't ever plant apple trees on the side of the road. Instead, they'll do data centers. They're not going to think about me and you. We're just cattle. And I hate to say that because, capitalism is something that, is the bedrock of this country, but it seems like things are out of control. Politicians are so bought and paid for because they stay in office forever that they're never worried about being voted out. And I've always wondered, if we will plant an oak tree somewhere instead of an apple tree. We'll plant another tree, crepe myrtles or something that doesn't produce anything, but if you tried to have a front yard garden, you're going to get a ticket. If you wanted to live on your own land in an RV, can't do that. But if they want to bulldoze an entire forest for a data center, steal all the water, pollute it as they go, and then you'll never be able to use that land again. It's completely gone to the government forever or some corporate entity forever. It is what it is. There's nothing we can do about it unless we get out there and vote. And I say, let's get out there and let's vote them out. I know y'all gonna be mad at me for saying that, but that's the only way we can change this stuff. Politicians are not worried about doing this kind of stuff. They know that corporate America runs the world, and that's who puts them in office. They will never accept lobbies against it. So sad, hurts my heart. I wish we could do something about it in the legal world. But that's all I got. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below. Am I right? Am I wrong? I think we got to push back on this stuff while we can, because pretty soon we won't be able to do it. And I think politicians should worry that we will vote them out if they do stuff like this. I mean, you can take an entire basketball court, fill it up with voters, and they're not scared of it. That's wild. That hurts my heart right there. So I want to know what you think. Comment down below. I'll see you guys on the next video.